I'll talk loud. I'll try to talk loud. I just hope you've enjoyed the show. We have one more day and a lot of good demos today. So if you're going to be here, check back by and see what we have going on. And this morning I want to share with you printing on photographs. I will tell you, before I start, I'm going to pass a picture around that I'm going to, this is my version. So many people do it so many ways, so, you know, whatever suits you, whatever works for you, but maybe you can take something away with you that will help you this morning. I'm basically a very lazy person, and I don't do the hard ways. So I like the simple. But I will pass this around. This one is 10 years old. This is an anniversary quilt with my sister. And it's still hanging in her home, and it's not deteriorated or faded at all. Those leaves on that quilt, that was done in 2003. They were soaked in Central that we'll talk about in the process done. And they still look like that. They've been all over the United States, folded up, twisted up, coffee spilled on them. They've been everywhere. I think there's a country song like that. If you'll just pass that around. And I'll talk about these others in just a minute. But I have up at the top just some notes that things that, before we talk about how to do it, maybe to give you some ideas, because if you don't really do a lot of quilts or big quilts or something, you just want a little small hanging to do, this is a good way to do that. If you run out of fabric and you think, you know, we're always getting these blasts sent out on our email with our guild that says, does anybody have a quarter of a yard of whatever? You know, I'm running out. Well, that's a good thing, and I'll show you that in just a minute. You can do that. That's legal as long as you don't make a lot of it and sell it as your fabric. If you're doing it to extend what you're working on, it's perfectly legal. You can still put your quilts in shows, you can still sell your quilts. But, you know, don't market the fabric as your fabric. People frown on that. So, and you can, we'll talk about that in just a minute too. And then some of the ideas for transferring photos I have here, and I will talk about some of them too. But there's just a few up here at the top that maybe you really hadn't thought about. First thing that I want to talk about is preparing the fabric. Now, I told you that I'm a basically lazy person. And when I heard prepared for dyeing, have a seat ladies. When I heard that prepared for dyeing fabric was on the market, oh, I was ecstatic. There are places that you can get it, and I'm going to pass it around so you can see it. It will be marketed probably as PFD fabric. That means prepared for dyeing. I know that locally here, we have a couple of shops that I know, and maybe more, that have the prepared for dyeing fabric. I know Lee Sewing has it, Bill Sewing has it, I think Martha Annis has it at the Cotton Quilt, and then Mary Jo's in Gastonia has it. And she has cotton, there are about 2 or 3 weights of the cotton, and they're silk. Then you can order it from some of the places that you order the paints and things like that from. They'll always have prepared for dyeing fabric. That means, what that means is, it doesn't have any of the fixatives, any of the formaldehyde, any of the sizings, nothing on it. It's just plain fabric. But it's nice fabric. I'm going to pass this around so you can feel it. In fact, I'll just take the rubber band off so you can feel it better. I like to feel it, man. I like to see them and touch them. I haven't had my fix for the day if I haven't touched a piece of fabric. So you want to get started around it. But just feel it. It's very smooth, very nice. Now, when I am not going to use the PFD fabric, then I use a product. There are several on the market. They're called ink fixatives. This one is my favorite. I didn't want to bring a great big bottle, so I have the little tag on it. Just about all the quilt shops carry this, even Hancock's, which you know hardly find anything you need anymore in there. But it's An ink fixative. It's a fixative for your fabric. So it holds the ink to the fabric. Now that means that you don't always have to dye it. You're printed on white fabric. This is just a color book page. I happen to like dogs. So it's a color book page. I printed off my computer. I ran it through the computer, the printer, and this is how it is on colored fabric. So sometimes I use colored fabric and print a line drawing. When you go in and you look for something, and the way I look these up, free color book pages, and they pop up hundreds, even adult color book pages nowadays. So the art guy, I don't know where he went, he used to know that, but I will color just certain parts of it if I want to quilt it into a quilt some way. Some of the ways that I will do it. Now, I did not bring freezer paper with me, and you probably all know about ironing freezer paper on and printing on freezer paper. I don't do that because I don't have good luck with freezer paper. Sometimes I'll get it prepared, and then I'll get called away to something. You go back in the corners have already started to come loose, and I can't stand that. I use beautiful. I use something called, it's just a white full-page sticky back label. You know those sticky tags they give you in shows? You can get them in a full-page version. And that, to me, has worked better for me than anything. I have on here what it looks like when you get it in a package, and I think, I don't know how many is in here, 100. You can get it in Office Max, Office Depot, Staples, any place like that. And what I like about it, when you peel it off, you can fold it here and peel it one off, and then, you know, kind of I use a little brayer and just, or my hand, and I just smooth it down on my fabric as I go. I always cut my fabric a little bigger, and I get that all smoothed down. You don't have to press it with an iron, you don't have to do anything like that with it. So then I'll take it, peel them all off. Then I will, when I put it in when I start to run it through my printer, I will always, I cut the corners off so that the two corners that go into the printer first will have less chance of bunching up on you. Because if it gets this end started in, or this side, whichever way your printer does it, if you get it started, then it's going to go through. So, and I will pass this around so you can look. This one is an example of what happens if you don't press it real good and get it on there. It just won't stay really well. So I will send these around for you to look at too. And please, as I'm talking, if you have a question, ask it. I taught for 22 years, so I'll tell you if I don't know it, because I don't know it. I'll tell you I don't. But I'm open to questions. When you, before you put your fabric onto the full sheet label, if you haven't pressed it, press it really flat, you know, get the wrinkles out. Just lay it on your board, press it on. I use a firm, I have a press board I made. It's a piece of, I don't know, it's something I stole from my son's cabinet shop, but it's thin. And I covered it with batting and pins. And I press it on that because it's real firm, and you can get all the wrinkles out. And then if you don't get them all out, when you stick it on the paper, you can pull it back up and work them out. You know, like there's some things you just have to work bubbles out on, so you can do that. Then I press it with a dry iron. I don't spray it with starch. I don't do anything else to it. I press it with the hot, dry iron. Now, if I'm using, I have one here that I did on nylon organdy to show you. I had to press that one on a warm, lower setting, but I press it just before I stick it on the paper. Let's see what else here.
I have a question about the liquid. Where do you apply the liquid?
I'm going to tell you just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
we're done with it.
I'll just do it right now. If I'm going to use fabric as that's not prepared for dyeing, just regular, like the color book page that came around. Okay, before I do that, I do prepare them because they have sizing. Some of them have formaldehyde on them. Have you ever walked in a fabric store and your eyes burn? And that's formaldehyde. That's how they set it and preserve it. I have a glass baking dish about this deep, just like you do a casserole. And I have one, one of the big ones. I have a big bottle of this, and I just take it and pour it in there. And then I take my piece of fabric and put it in there, press it down, soak it really well, just before I put it onto anything. And take it out, rinse it in another, and most of the time I just rinse it in my hands under the faucet. But then this, you can pour it back into your bottle and use it over and over. So it's not an expensive thing, and it's easy to get. So that's how I do it. Thank you. Because I might have forgotten. But that's all you have to do to it. When it's dry, press it.
Did you say how long you put it in there and I didn't hear?
Just a few minutes. You just want it wet, you want to be sure it's good and wet. And I don't do like 3 or 4 layers at a time. I usually, it's just my way. I mean, that might work for you, but I like to just do 1 layer at a time. And if I have a big, like, I have a quilt hanging here that's a big quilt. And before, when I prepared that fabric, it's 36 by 50 or something. It's number 316, that second row, I think. It's leaves like this and pictures. But I soaked that fabric. It's a pretty good sized piece of fabric.